Let us write a Python program to calculate the compound interest for given values of principal amount, rate of interest, and number of periods. Here number of periods is like how periodically we have to compound the interest in a given year. Like if you want to compound the interest at an interval of 2 months, then the number of periods will be 2. Let us split this program into 3 parts. The first part is reading input. Second part is calculating the compound interest. And the third part is printing the compound interest value. So the first part is reading the input. In Python, to read any value, this is the statement we use. So whenever the program encounters this input, it will wait for the user to enter the data. So here we need to read 3 values: principal amount, rate of interest, and number of periods. Input. So we need to read 3 values, right? The first value is principal amount. Let us save this in a variable called P. Here, whenever the Python reads input from the user, it will read this in string form. Suppose if the user enters 100, it will be read like this. So since we need to use this variable in calculations, string cannot do math. So we have to convert this into a float value. So here interest can be floating or integer. So we'll read it as float so that it will cover both integer and float values. The next one is rate of interest. Let us save this into a variable called R, and then this also can be a float value. So we'll convert the input into float and then divide this by 100. Suppose the user enters the rate of interest as 5, then we need to 5 is 5%, right? So that means 5 by 100. So we are going to divide this by 100 and save it in a variable called R. And the next one is a number of periods. Let us save this into a variable called n. This cannot be float value because the number of intervals is always an integer. So we are converting the input value into integer because the input is always reading the value in the form of string. So we have collected the values of principal amount, rate of interest, and number of intervals. Now see, we have 2 consecutive input reads, right? But user doesn't know like what to enter when it waits for the input. Whether to enter rate of interest first or number of periods first or something like that. So to resolve that confusion, let us add a print statement before each input. See here, before reading the principal amount, we have added a print statement which will reveal to the user that he needs to enter principal amount. Similarly, we will add print statements in front of before each input statement. Enter rate of interest. So we have collected the input data. Now we need to calculate the compound interest. First we need to find out the formula for the compound interest. This is the compounded amount. This includes principal amount also. The compounded amount includes principal amount also at the end of the year. So if you subtract principal amount from this, we will get the compound interest. So the formula is P into 1 plus R divided by N to the power of n. So this is how the compounded amount is calculated. P is the principal amount, R is the rate of interest, N is the number of intervals. So P into 1 plus R by N to the power of N. So in Python, to the power of N can be written in two ways. One is by using a supported method, this one, POW, and the base value and then exponent. So here the base value is this one and the exponent is n, this one. So this is how we calculate this value using the program, and to this we have to multiply the principal amount, then we will get the compounded amount per 1 year. So the compounded amount is principal amount into POW means 1 plus R by N to the power of N. So we got the compounded amount. So to calculate the compounded interest, so what we need to do is compounded amount minus P. P is the principal amount. So we'll get the compounded interest. Now we will print the compounded interest. Instead of printing it as a plain value, we will display the text before this saying that this is the compound interest. So for this, in print statement, yeah, we can club this. See, since this is an integer, print statement will take only the plain print statement will take only the string values. So since this is not string, this is a variable. So to club string and variable in Python print, we can use F. This is a formatted print. Inside this, we are going to write a text compounded interest is, and then this value is like the variable should be inside the flower brace. So whatever is inside the flower brace in a print statement, this will be treated as variable. So how the program will display this is like this will display the plain text as it is, and after that the value of this variable will get displayed in this place. So let us run this program. See, it is asking enter the principal amount. Let us 100 the principal amount as 1000, and then enter the rate of interest 5%, and then enter the number of periods. Number of periods, if I say 2, the compounding will be happening at an interval of 6 months. Okay, so I entered the value of 2. See here the compounded interest is 50.625. If you want to cut this into 2 decimal points, we can do rounding of this value, like rounded compound interest is, there is a call called round, and give this interest, and then how many decimal points you want, you can specify them here. Currently it is displaying 3 decimal points, right? If you want to display only 2 decimal points, then we can use this round call to cut the number of decimal points to 2 values. So now we are going to display the rounded value now. Let us run this program again. The principal amount is 1000, rate of interest is 5, number of intervals are 2. So now if you see, this is truncated to 2 decimal points. This is how we can truncate. So, sometimes the interest can be not only 3 decimal points, it can go up to so many decimal points, because the division is like floating point division here. So to cut that into 2 decimal points in a readable format, we used this round call. Okay, and this is the end of the program.